You're always the disappointment, my brother said while everyone else watched. I just smiled, paid the bill for everyone, and walked out. The next day he showed up begging because I didn't even want to go. The invitation came through our family group chat like a summons, casual on the surface, but heavy underneath. Family dinner at the Porterhouse on Saturday. Everyone be there. My mom sent it, but I knew whose idea it was. My brother Nathan. He just closed some flashy deal at a startup none of us understood, and he was eager to celebrate. I was the last to show up. Not fashionably late, just tired. Tired in the way you get when you're always the one holding the line in a family that keeps cutting the cord. They were already seated. My parents. Nathan. His wife Ashley, who had the kind of practiced smile you get from marrying someone who makes a show out of being successful. Our younger sister, Brianna, was there too, giggling at something Nathan said, like always. No one stood when I arrived. My dad gave a distracted nod. My mom kissed the air beside my cheek. Nathan didn't even glance up from his glass. I sat down and smoothed out my sleeves. I wore the same navy jacket I always did to these things. Reliable. Predictable. Just like me. We ordered. Laughed. Or rather, they laughed. I chimed in when I had something worth saying, which wasn't often in that crowd. I noticed how everyone skipped over asking me about work, again. That was the first sign, I think. The way silence pooled around me like an afterthought. I didn't push it. I never did. But it was during dessert that Nathan struck. He was swirling bourbon in his glass, his voice too loud, smile too wide. You know, I was thinking about high school the other day, he said, and I knew what was coming before he even said it. Remember when Mom thought you were gonna drop out because you couldn't pass chemistry? Laughter. Real, sharp, stinging laughter. My mother tried to hush him, weakly. He kept going. And now look at you. Still showing up. Still the family rock. Still. He leaned in, and there it was, his voice laced with the condescension of a man who thinks cruelty is charisma. Still the disappointment. The table went quiet then. Not because they disagreed, but because even they knew he had crossed the line. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at him, held his gaze until the smirk faded, and then I smiled. It wasn't the kind of smile you give when you forgive someone. It was the kind you give when you finally understand the rules of a game you've been losing for years. I stood, pulled out my wallet, and left my card with the server. For everyone, I said loud enough for the whole table to hear. Like always. Then I turned, walked out, and didn't look back. I woke up the next morning to a string of unread messages. Most were from my mother, half apology, half justification. My sister sent a couple too. One said, Nathan was drunk. He didn't mean it like that. The next was more honest. He was being a jerk. I'm sorry. But there was nothing from Nathan. Not until 9:42 a.m., when there was a knock at my door. Not a gentle tap. A pounding, urgent, desperate. I live alone in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where people notice strange cars and strangers loitering. So when I peeked through the peephole and saw Nathan standing there, sweat on his forehead despite the mild weather, shifting his weight like a guilty child, I knew something was off. I opened the door and didn't say a word. He didn't even say hello. Can I come in? He asked, eyes darting up and down the street. I stepped aside. He walked in like someone expecting a scolding but hoping for a lifeline. I need help, he said, once he was inside, pacing the living room like he couldn't sit still. I messed up, man. Bad. I sat on the armrest of the couch and waited. He took a breath and finally looked at me. I owe some guys money. Real money. Not credit card stuff. This is different. These guys, they don't send late notices. They show up. I nodded, slowly. How much? He swallowed hard. 80. I raised an eyebrow. 1,000? He nodded. My first instinct wasn't even shock. It was something colder. Calmer. Like the engine of a car finally catching after years of sputtering. I didn't speak. I just waited. I tried to flip some investments, he said. Crypto, NFTs, private lending, all of it sounded good at the time. But then the market crashed, and I kept borrowing to cover losses. These guys gave me the last loan, and now they want their money back. With interest. How much interest? Another 20. I let that hang between us. $100,000, I said, as if tasting the words. Nathan ran his hands through his hair. I wouldn't ask you if I wasn't out of options. That part made me laugh. Not out loud, but inside. Deep in my chest, where all the old memories lived. Like the time he crashed my car in high school and convinced Mom I'd lent it to him without permission. Or the Christmas he told everyone I was too busy to make it, when he hadn't even invited me. But I didn't show it. Instead, I stood up and walked to the kitchen. He followed me like a dog trailing its owner. I don't need it all at once, he said. Just something. Enough to get them off my back. I'll pay you back, I swear. I turned to face him. My voice was calm. Steady. I'll help you, I said. His eyes lit up. You will? I nodded. But on my terms. And you're not going to like them. Nathan froze. The hope in his face flickered the way cheap lights do before they burn out. He tried to smile, still clinging to the version of me he thought I was. The one who always bent. Always forgave. Always picked up the check. But this time, I leaned forward and let him see it. The version of me that had been waiting in the wings. The one who'd had enough. I'll cover it, I said. But first, you're going to do 3 things. He nodded, almost too quickly. Yeah, of course. Whatever you need, man. No. Not whatever. I'm going to be specific. I walked back to the living room, sat on the couch, and motioned for him to do the same. He sat like a school kid in the principal's office. First, I said, you're going to apologize. Publicly. Nathan blinked. What? You remember last night? I asked. Of course you do. You told everyone I was the family disappointment. Got your laughs. Took your little jab. Well, I want you to invite everyone back to dinner, same restaurant, your treat. And there, in front of all of them, you're going to tell the truth. That you've always looked down on me. That you've leaned on me. That I bailed you out before. That you've taken while pretending I was the problem. He laughed, weak and shaky. That's a lot, man. I didn't blink. And it's just the first thing. He stared at me, the color draining from his face. Second, I continued, you're going to sign over the apartment. His eyes widened. What apartment? Don't insult me, I said. The rental you've been bragging about to Dad. The one in Oak Ridge. You're going to hand it over to me. Title transfer. Clean and legal. That place is collateral. I cut in. You want help, you put skin in the game. He leaned forward, running his hands over his face like he could rub the terms away. But I wasn't finished. And third, I paused. Let the silence stretch. You're going to call Mom. And Dad. And tell them everything. The debt. The lies. The people you owe. You're going to put an end to the golden boy illusion. For good. Nathan was shaking his head before I even finished. Come on, man. That's not fair. I raised an eyebrow. Fair? You called me a disappointment while I paid for your meal. You sold a lie for 20 years. And now you want grace without consequence. He looked like he wanted to yell. But he didn't. Instead, he stared at the floor. I thought you were better than this, he mumbled. I stood. No, Nathan. You just thought I'd never stop being worse. Nathan didn't answer me that day. He left quietly. Said he needed time to think. But we both knew what that meant. He was hoping I'd cool off, go soft, maybe even call him back and say, forget it, I'll wire you the money. I didn't. I went to work the next morning like I always did. Got my coffee. Ran my reports. Took 2 back-to-back client calls. While Nathan was unraveling, I was putting together proposals for next quarter. It's strange. When you finally stop chasing the people who never respected you, life gets suspiciously calm. 2 days passed. Then the group text pinged. Nathan, dinner's on me. Same place. Saturday at 7. Everyone's invited. My thumb hovered over the phone for a second longer than it should have. Then I replied with a single word. I'll be there. Saturday came, and I arrived on time. My family was already seated. My mother looked confused. My dad was unreadable as always. Ashley clutched her purse like she was expecting drama and wanted a front row seat. Nathan stood when I approached, an odd show of respect from someone who once couldn't bother looking up from his drink. He even pulled out my chair. The first 20 minutes were small talk. Work. Weather. Brianna's new promotion. The kind of conversation that smells like perfume and denial. But I didn't push it. I let him sweat. Then, right after dessert arrived, cheesecake, again, Nathan cleared his throat. I've got something to say, he began. The table quieted. I said something at our last dinner that I shouldn't have. About Hubert. He looked at me, then back at the table. I've said a lot of things over the years. My mother shifted uncomfortably. Nathan's voice trembled, but he kept going. The truth is, I've always had things handed to me. I've made mistakes. A lot of them. And every time I screwed up, Hubert cleaned it up. There was an awkward pause. He wasn't used to telling the truth. It looked foreign on him. I was wrong to say what I said. I was wrong about a lot of things. I just didn't want to admit how much I depended on someone I spent so many years looking down on. Silence. Even Ashley looked stunned. He turned to me, hands resting flat on the table. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Not yet. I wanted it to sink in. Let the weight of it press down on everyone there. Then I nodded once. Good, I said quietly. Now call Dad tomorrow. I didn't hear from Nathan the next morning. I didn't expect to. But at exactly 4:03 p.m., my phone buzzed. One message from my father. He told me everything. That was it. No apology. No regret. Just acknowledgement. Classic Dad. A man who could witness his son burn down his life and still ask why the smoke was so loud. But it didn't matter. I wasn't looking for his remorse. I just wanted the truth to take root, like a weed in a garden they'd spent years manicuring around Nathan's lies. Later that evening, Nathan called. You happy now? He asked. I paused. No, I said. But I'm satisfied. He exhaled into the line. I could hear the tremor in it. They're upset. They should be, I replied. There was a long silence. I signed the transfer papers, he said finally. The apartment's yours. Daniel, your lawyer friend, has the documents. That caught my attention. You used Daniel? You said do it legally. So, yeah? I did it by the book. I almost smiled. Not because I wanted the apartment. I didn't. I'd probably never live in it. But it was the first time Nathan had ever followed through on something that didn't benefit him directly. Then we're done, I said. Another pause. So that's it? That's it, I said. Unless you want to ask for more money. He laughed, bitter and low. No, he said. I think I'm out of debt for the first time in years. I didn't say you're welcome. That would have cheapened it. Instead, I hung up. Not in anger. Not in victory. Just finality. It didn't take long for the news to spread through the family. By the end of the week, I had 3 missed calls from Brianna, 2 awkward voicemails from Mom, and even a text from my uncle in Ohio, asking if it was true that Nathan's business was just smoke and mirrors. Funny how fast the narrative flipped. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I went on with my life. I still had my job, my condo, my morning routine with black coffee and silence. I still ran numbers and spreadsheets, and managed accounts like I had for the past 8 years. Nothing changed, and yet everything had. The next Sunday, my mother invited me over for dinner. Just me. No Nathan. No Ashley. No crowd. That hadn't happened in I don't know how many years. I went. Not out of guilt, but because I needed to see what kind of mother she was now that her favorite had fallen off the pedestal. She greeted me at the door like a stranger trying to make a good impression. Table was set. Roast in the oven. Music playing softly in the background. She was trying. We sat down. There was a bit of small talk, weather, work, the usual filler. But eventually, she set down her fork and said, "I didn't know, Hubert. About how deep he was in." I nodded but didn't say anything. She kept going. "He told us you were fine. Always fine. We didn't think you needed us." I looked at her. "I didn't," I said, not unkindly. "That's the point." She blinked, clearly not expecting that answer. But she didn't argue. Instead, she said, "I'm sorry for not seeing it." "You saw it," I said gently. "You just chose not to look too closely." She swallowed hard. "I was scared. If Nathan wasn't the golden boy, what did that make me?" I didn't know what to say to that. So I said nothing. And maybe that was the moment we both understood each other more than we ever had. Dinner ended quietly. No explosions. No outbursts. Just an aging woman and her oldest son, sitting with the weight of a shared illusion finally shattered. And I left feeling lighter. I didn't check in on Nathan. Didn't ask how things were going with the loan sharks, or what the fallout was with his investors. But stories have a way of making their rounds, especially in families like ours, where gossip masquerades as concern. Brianna called one night. Not to apologize. Not even to take a side. She just wanted to talk, and I let her. "They're saying Nathan's stepping down," she told me, her voice low like it was classified. "From his position at the firm." "Voluntary?" I asked. "Not really," she replied. "The partners found out about the debt. And something about misreporting his stake in a few shell companies." Ashley's livid. I could imagine it. The polished image they'd built was fracturing. The expensive suits. The rented luxury cars. The charity auctions where Nathan posed with donors like he owned the room, all of it dissolving into uncomfortable questions and overdue bills. "He's trying to get in front of it," Brianna added. "Doing interviews. Damage control." I didn't say much. Just listened. Then she hesitated. "You don't seem surprised." "I'm not," I said. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" she asked. "I did," I said. "You just weren't listening." There was a pause on the line, then a quiet, "Yeah, I guess we weren't." After we hung up, I went for a walk. It was quiet outside. The kind of quiet that feels earned. I passed the same corner store I used to stop at after double shifts. Back when I was helping Mom cover the mortgage, even though Nathan was bragging about business classes he never finished. I used to wonder if it was worth it, being the one they never clapped for. The one they never toasted. But I didn't wonder anymore. Because now, every part of the story was out in the open. Every mask dropped. Every truth laid bare. Nathan's unraveling wasn't my burden anymore. It was his. It came, as these things always do, when the dust had mostly settled, just enough to make someone think they still had room to rebuild. Nathan called again. It was late. Past 10. I almost didn't pick up. But curiosity got the better of me. "Hey," he said, voice raw. Not panicked this time. Not rehearsed. Just hollow. "Hey," I replied, keeping my tone even. "I'm thinking of selling the house," he said after a pause. "Ashley moved out last week." That didn't surprise me. Ashley had always been drawn to surfaces. The moment hers cracked, she'd go looking for a new mirror. "I see," I said. "I wanted to ask if maybe we could sit down. You and me. Just talk." I didn't answer right away. "I know I burned the bridge," he added quickly. "But I'm trying to figure out who I am now. Without the performance. Without the fake stuff." I leaned back in my chair, letting his words settle. For a brief second, I remembered the version of Nathan I once admired. Before the image swallowed the person. The kid who could make anyone laugh in seconds. Who talked me into jumping off the roof with a sheet tied around my neck because we were definitely gonna fly this time. But nostalgia is a liar. And I wasn't here to rescue him from himself anymore. I'll have coffee with you, I said finally. But I'm not here to rebuild what you broke. I'm not asking you to, he said. I think I need to hear the truth from someone who never needed anything from me. That part hit differently. It wasn't a plea. It wasn't manipulation. It was maybe the first honest sentence he'd spoken in years. We set a time. A neutral place. Saturday morning. No expectations. As I hung up, I didn't feel pride. Or power. I felt something colder. Control. The kind I had built brick by brick while they called me the disappointment. I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. Not because I was eager, habit mostly. When you've spent a lifetime being underestimated, showing up prepared becomes second nature. I took the corner booth, the one with a clear view of the door and a wall at my back. Old instinct. Old protection. Nathan walked in 5 minutes late. Not in a tailored suit this time, just jeans and a sweater that looked a little too clean, like it had been bought for the occasion. His hair was unkempt, and the usual swagger had evaporated. He spotted me and hesitated, like he half expected me to vanish before his eyes. He sat down. Thanks for coming, he said, his voice more gravel than air. I nodded. No handshake. No small talk. He wrapped his hands around the coffee mug, not drinking, just holding. I don't even know where to start, he admitted. Start with the truth, I said. You're not good at much else, but try that for once. He flinched. But he didn't argue. I spent most of my life pretending I was the guy everyone wanted me to be, he said. Smart. Smooth. Successful. But the truth is, I was always chasing shadows. Taking shortcuts. Borrowing against the future to look rich in the present. I said nothing. He wasn't looking for feedback, just absolution. I wasn't in the business of giving it. He kept going. When you walked out of that dinner, something changed. It wasn't just that I lost your support. It was that, for the first time, I realized how much of my identity depended on you always being beneath me. He looked up at me then, eyes rimmed red, the way they get when you haven't slept well in days. Or weeks. I needed you to be small so I could feel big, he said. And the worst part is, I think Mom and Dad helped me do that. Not because they hated you, but because they needed someone to carry the blame. You just made it easy. I stared at him, long and hard. The words sounded rehearsed. But the shame, that was real. So what now? I asked. You confessed. Congratulations. Are you here for forgiveness? He shook his head. No. I know I don't deserve it. I leaned forward. You don't. His jaw clenched. But he didn't push back. I'm selling everything, he said. The apartment's gone. The car's gone. I'm moving into a small rental near Midtown. No job lined up yet. I'm thinking about starting over. Not as Nathan the success story. Just Nathan. Good luck with that, I said, not unkindly. He gave a weak chuckle. You know, there were nights I actually convinced myself you were jealous of me. I wasn't jealous, I said. I was tired. He looked down, nodding. I guess I hoped. He trailed off. I hoped maybe we could be something. Someday. I let that sit for a moment. Then I said the one thing I'd been holding for years. You made sure we never could. The weight of it landed between us. Heavy. Final. He nodded. I know. When the silence grew too long, he stood. Thanks for the coffee. Don't thank me, I said. Just live differently. He walked out without another word. I watched him go, not out of sentiment, but because part of me needed to see that the exit was real. That he wouldn't circle back with another lie. Another request. Another twist of the knife. That day, I didn't feel triumphant. But I felt something far better. Free. People like to say revenge is loud. Mine wasn't. It was measured. Quiet. A series of calm decisions that rewrote everything they thought they knew about me. I never raised my voice. Never made a scene. I just stopped playing the role they'd cast me in. And that, it turns out, was louder than any outburst ever could be. If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. You don't have to prove your worth to people who are committed to not seeing it. Just walk away. And let them live with the silence you leave behind.